All right, it's time to talk with our featured guest, Dr. Bobby Grassi. Bobby, how's it going?
How you doing, buddy? Thanks for having me, Michael.
Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Can you kick things off by telling us a little bit about your business and your practice? Who are you serving, and what are some of the unique things you're doing for your patients right now?
When you say servitude, I mean, everybody should be a servant leader, right? I service not only my patients, but my staff. Early on, when you got out of dental school, a little quick version, I'm 51 years old. I've been doing dentistry now for 21 years. Early on, it was like, oh, it's all about me. It's all about the doctor, right? Everyone thinks it's about their time. You're going to go golfing. You're only going to work 3 days a week. And then you realize, you know what? I'm not really in service. So how I service my patient, I really take Grassi Dental into wellness. That's my main branch where all my life really started within my private practice was the wellness part of medicine. I was trained by an oral surgeon one time, and he said to me, never think of yourself just as a tooth doctor. So I want to service everything about the patient. So when I built my practice, the one where I'm at, where I'm talking to you right now, I built it as how would I want it to be if I was the patient? So I reverse engineered it per se, right? How would I be in service to you? Well, most people now, they're busy. They don't want to go to 8 different practices, right? They don't want to go to a specialist for this and that. Can you meet all my needs in one stop and be efficient? So I built really a practice based on that frame point where I do the implants, I do oral orthodontics, I do everything in one place. If I can maximize everybody's time and not waste their time, I'm in a great service to my patients and I can give them a great service. Now, with that said, it's great that we as dentists focus on our patients, but I think we miss a little bit of focusing on the human capital that help us get to where we need to get to. And so if you remove your ego out of the equation, us meaning the dentist or the doctor or the CEO of a company or whoever we're talking to, predominantly dentists, if you remove your ego from it and you say, how do I service my team to help service the patients? That's kind of how I built what I do and what I still continue to do this day. I put myself out, even at home life. How do I service my wife and service my kids, right? Now, there's a respect level, but you should be in service to. And I think that when people are in service, we're in a service industry, especially in dentistry. If we really put ourselves secondary and others first, you'll always make right decisions. So that's my main focus on what I do. Build everything in. Doesn't matter what business it is. How do I service the client? What problem can I solve? How can I meet some of their demands and needs? And if I can accomplish that, then you're going to get paid very well, I promise you.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's rewind a little bit, man. You have always wanted to have wellness as part of the whole collaboration, whole thing of your practice, and never think yourself as a tooth doctor. I guess today, how do we see where we're diverging off a different path and it's not about wellness? It's like we're just going to be focusing on one thing. Because you also do hear like, hey, man, riches are in the niches. Niche down on one specific procedure and make that happen, like dentures or something like that.
Would it be better if I just focused on doing implants or just focused on doing this and not the overall wellness? But I think as healthcare professionals, we are Dr. Grassi or we're Dr. Smith, we're Dr. that, who just happens to be DDS or DMDs or whatever it is. Doctor of dental surgery or doctor of medical dentistry, right? We are taught so long, and this is kind of a little joke, that the people that are dentists couldn't get into med school. It's not really true. We just chose to do a different path. So the interesting thing is we are all a part of one synergistic wellness umbrella. We are the most holistic approach to medicine there is, if you think about it. Not big pharma, not vaccines. We have the power that a pill cannot solve. I can't give you an antibiotic, Michael, and then all your infection is gone in your mouth. I can't give you a vitamin and all the bacteria that's causing harm to you can be gone. I physically have to remove it. I physically have to either, whether it's a cavity, whether it's an infection in the bone, whether it's just living in your bloodstream, I physically had to be the one to holistically get you health and wellness, right? So when that all ties in though, what we have to do from a patient point of view, not that I'm going to do every dang procedure in dentistry, it's not what I'm saying, but my overall wellness to the patients, the way I talk to the patient, educate the patient, whether it's sleep medicine, hey, I see this is going wrong with your mouth, right? I see these things, whether you're grinding. Most people think, I'll give you a great example. People think they just grind because they're just habitual grinders. No, they're grinding because there's an airway issue 9 times out of 10. So now that's where the wellness comes in. So I do have sleep monitors. I do have things that I can educate patients on that can serve them better. Even if I don't get $1 from it, Michael, I'm serving my patients. So I get free sleep monitors all the time. Why? Because I'm their first level of defense against disease, from diabetes to high blood pressure to cardiovascular disease to dementia to Alzheimer's to all that. Because really Alzheimer's and dementia is type 3 diabetes. I know they don't say that to you. It's really just type 3 diabetes. It's sugar, right? It's too much sugar. Well, what can dentistry control the best? Diabetes. if you just maintain your regular checkups and I don't ever touch your teeth, health and wellness will be one whole circle and synergistically. That's how we tie in. That's where my wellness ties in. I have other things too, from supplements and stem cell patches. We're not going to go in there, but that's what I mean about overall doctor wellness. My job is to inform my patient with nutrition for health and wellness and ways to improve their quality of life. I just happen to be one part of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's interesting, man. How do you market that to the new patients?
How do I market? Man, I go on social media. What do you mean? I'm not afraid of everything. I just tell them. I think if I'm a young dentist, let's say I'm year 1 to 5, right? And we're just starting out. I'm not sure I'm going to go into this whole thing and this is who I am, this is what I represent. I would start by just getting really good at certain procedures, right? This is almost the thing that you can tier up to. Because when you're first getting out, you're just trying to really learn how to survive. How do I manage a staff? How do I form leadership? How do I communicate really well with my patients? How do I get my time right? Instead of doing a 3-hour prep that there was in dental school, how do I get it down so I'm really making money and being efficient with my time? So the first 1 to 5 years, you're really just trying to figure out who you are. What is it that I love to really do? Because let's be honest, we call it practicing dentistry, which sounds really good. Dental schools get you the ability to pass the board. They don't teach how to run a business. They get you really good and kind of scary good at doing certain things, but they don't maximize your potential. It's going to take you as an individual to really know, okay, what really moves my passion? Like what fires me up? And some people, you're right, they don't want to do endos. They don't want to do implants. They don't want to do ortho. That's cool, but how can you still keep that in your practice or transition in your practice and still serving the patient? Even though you might not do it, you said, how do you brand that or market that? I think like as a general dentist, we try to say, okay, we can do it all, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. But if you're truly fired up about doing one thing, let your audience know what you're fired up about doing. And then you will gravitate that patient, right? There is an ideal patient for everybody. There's an ideal client for everybody. Most people have this scarcity mindset thinking, well, I got to do this and I got to do that and I won't be successful. No, you're going to attract whatever you want. I started doing implants about 15 years ago, and somebody said there's no way a general dentist can do implants as good as a specialist, and there's no way you can market this. Like, you're surrounded by all these specialists. And I said, well, okay, it just starts by just doing it. I now probably do 200 implants a year, and all on 4 cases, advanced training cases, and all I'm doing is getting direct referrals from my own patients who are my perfect avatars, and they just refer people to me. So if I was going to tell a young dentist or somebody who's saying, hey, how would I market being a wellness doctor or what I love to do, I would do exactly that. I would focus on that target audience, who is your ideal patient, and just market it. Start with Facebook ads, start with something cheap to see if you can get results. Start with Instagram posts, start with doing TikTok videos, whatever you want, make it cute. And if you're not the extrovert that does it, which I will tell you, if you're a dentist and you can get on camera, there's a little bit more power than your staff member doing it. However, start somewhere. In this media, if you're saying the young client, let's be honest, its information is going like this. They're not going to read a boring string of a marketing campaign anymore. I don't care what we say. Yes, Facebook ads are good, but video ads are better than just text ads. We all know this. That's why TikTok videos being funny are going to attract more people. Show people your personality, show people your brand, and then go target that audience and you'll dominate.
So let's put a pin in that and a bookmark on that, and we'll kind of go back to it. But right now, if we rewind where we were at and we focus on, you said we miss focusing on the human capital. That's interesting. What does that mean, human capital, if we can get descriptors for that?
Human capital is your people that work with you, right? Your employees or the people you employ or your teammates, right? So think of it in a different way. We get so caught up being comfortable in dentistry that we don't even know the quantitative revenue per employee. How much revenue does each employee actually generate for your practice? And do you ever acknowledge the good employee from the bad employee? What we tend to do is we tend to keep all the same employees for 20 years because it's really, really comfortable for us. And we never really invest in the good people. So what ends up happening is we get, maybe bad analogy of cancer cells in the body, but we'll get a cancer cell in the practice, or we'll get an employee, a human capital that's not really doing what they're supposed to do. And we're not really looking to revamp the team because we really don't want to cause anything. We're really good. We're really happy with making a living. And we kind of stay stagnant versus taking everybody in the human capital, meaning your employees that you work with, and making them even better, training them, educating them, sending them like, hey, what is it, Susie, you really want to crush and do? I want to do this. Okay, perfect. Everyone thinks it's a hourly an hour wage. Everyone thinks it's, oh, if I give somebody $40 an hour, they're going to be happy. That's not true. Not if you're not touching on their heartstrings. They might want to just give $20 an hour to the community that they live in, and you can do a fundraiser for them and send your employee's name. That's investing in a human capital. That's taking your energy and your resources and making them better. We don't do this enough as dentists. We feel if we pay them by the hour that they're just going to function and do whatever they want. And it's not true. If I can invest in what they're passionate about and I can make them become a better version, and by working with me, they can live a bigger dream and purpose, you will dominate the space of human capital. It's investing in their needs over your needs. If you can do that and you can train them and you can make them better, you're dominant. Also, though, on human capital, we tend to keep talent too long that are not good talents. A great analogy is a sports team. Kansas City Chiefs just won the Super Bowl. Boo, I'm a Lions fan. But if you don't think in a million years, every championship team is not looking for a free agent or not looking to cut people that are in the bottom 10% of their team now, and they constantly revamp to get better, we should learn from those sports teams. We as dentists, we don't even invest in human capital. We don't try to get better human capital. We don't even get rid of the bad human capital, right? We just keep it all there. And then we wonder why 5 years, 10 years down the road, we haven't moved because you haven't changed your team.
Is there something we can do, Bobby, where it's every quarter we're doing this kind of like a test or kind of like an analysis or something to see like each person, where are they on this human capital like level?
So what I do is I would audit, right? So if you're not doing, at least most people won't even do it quarterly. They won't even do it yearly. But let's just start with the basics. If you're not doing a yearly performance review on everybody, including yourself, meaning go ahead and take the mirrors off, let your staff talk to you. And this is where we got to let our ego go aside. You are an employee of your practice when you're in that chair. Let's just be honest. Even though you might pay yourself as a shareholder distribution or whatever it is, you are an employee once you're in that building. Now, the difference is hopefully you're also the CEO of your company and you have a non-clinical days or a few non-clinical days that you're working on your business, not in. But most dentists haven't figured out how to work on their business. They're always in their business, right? So essentially, you're nothing but a glorified employee. And so what you need to do is you need to have your staff give you a review and you listen. And you must review your staff. And then the ones that are at the bottom 10%, every procedure in dentistry, if you're only doing it 10% of the time, don't waste time marketing that procedure. It's not worth your time and energy. I'm in Flint, Michigan, right? You might be in California. Your patient's wants might be totally different than my patient's wants. So my extreme makeover bleaching of teeth isn't a big seller for me. Do you really think I'm gonna sit here and invest money in, a 6-day smile? Like, who cares? Nobody cares. Now, implants, extractions, or partials, you gotta know your demographics. It might matter. Certain things don't matter. Don't waste your energy on the marketing. If they come in organically, awesome. If they don't, you didn't waste your marketing dollars. Same with staff. If you have people at the bottom 10% and they're not where you need to be, it's your responsibility to coach them first, right? You're going to have a conversation with them like, look, what is it that you need? If you can't give them all the tools, it's not a them problem, it's a you problem. But if you give them all the tools, and remember, they're the law of the lid. John Maxwell said that you can only lead as law of the lid. If I'm a level 4 of a leader, I can't expect my office manager to be a 7. They're going to be a 3, right? They're always going to be below you. So you must first raise your standards before you can raise anybody else's. That's why it always starts with us. So do performance reviews on a regular basis, talk to your bottom 10%, and then make sure when you talk to them, they know where they need to improve. And if they don't improve, it's that simple. You've agreed in 3 months to follow up with them. This is the things you need to improve on. If you're not going to improve that, we're going to agree that we're just going to part ways. End of story. If they rise and other people fall, sweet. They now are still on your team. They're showing a form of, I want to do this. A lot of times people don't do certain things only because they're just maybe a little bit confused in the directions you want them to do, right? Sometimes they just don't know. They don't have the confidence. They've never been told before, go ahead and be yourself and make these decisions on your own. I trust you. Sometimes they just need to have you to support them and push them to be better leaders or better people. And, because let's be honest, it's a dog-eat-dog world, right? So meaning you'll have staff members that have been with you for 15 years. We can all do this. And you'll try to hire a new person. What do you think the pecking order is going to be? What do you think these people that have been there for 15 years, you really think they're going to make the new employee feel good? Hell no. They're so intimidated by the new employee that they're going to try to sabotage everything that person does. And then the doctor doesn't know the new employee, and they're going to listen to the 15-year-old employee that gives them all this nonsense without establishing a relationship with this new employee and training them the right way. We screw this up every time, and we hire someone, we just throw them in the line of fire. Oh, you got 2 years of training? Sweet, go. We don't teach them our culture. We don't teach them our core values. We don't teach them our mission statement. We don't teach them our vision statement. We don't teach them what we stand for. We don't teach them how to even address and talk to a patient on our way, not somebody else's way. And then we assume they're going to know what they're doing. We fail every time. It's like trying to be a dentist without going to dental school. It's not going to work, dude. You got to go to training for. If you think of sales rep, they do it right. You'll have these medical companies will hire these sales rep. Then they'll put them in like a 4 to 6 week training program, right? Get them totally immersed in what the product they're selling, the history of the product, and why they're doing what they do before they even step foot on the sales floor. You guys, dentistry sales. Right? Not to write this to you, it's a health sale. What is sales? Somebody has a problem, then you give them the possibility to solve their problem, and then you lead them down the path, whatever possibility they pick, and then you finally give them the sales pitch. This is what it's going to cost. Dentistry sales. It's ethical sales. Hopefully, it's integrity of sales, but it's sales. So we're going to put somebody in the line of fire that's never been trained our way, doesn't even know how we speak yet, just because on a resume they said they were an assistant for 20 years. That's setting most people up to fail. And when you have people that aren't inviting, and you don't invite that new person or that person in the human capital, they don't embrace each other because there's not a good culture just to have trust that if you create somebody better than you, that you're safe. When I train associate dentists, dude, I want them so much better than me. Why do you think that is, Michael? Well, why do you think I'd want that? So that I can get free. Are you kidding me? Do you think I want to be in mouse? I'm 51 years old, 21 years. I want to do this 8 hours a day? That's not leveraging your practice. That's not clinical duplication. That is nothing that's going to ever get you successful and rich. You want people better than you. And if you leave in life, if you call yourself a servant leader, if you call yourself a good human, if you call yourself a Christian, if you call yourself a husband, if you look at, you want people better when they met you than when they didn't meet you. So my job is to make everybody better than me. Like I said, throw the ego aside, because if you can be that leader that can now follow other people and you made them better than you, you've made a great legacy in this world, bro. You should be proud of it. So that's how I live.
Interesting. Okay. So then when it comes to that, I know you said throw your ego aside, remove your ego. I guess when we do that, how do we prevent it from coming back?
By checking yourself. I learned this from a buddy of mine, Richie Dorn. He said this to me, and he says, we got fear, judgment, and ego are the 3 gatekeepers that are designed to keep us safe. They're not designed to control us. The difference is sometimes we let them control us. They're designed to bring something to our attention that something might not be right. So there's always good times for your ego to come into play. Meaning, let's say somebody's being disrespectful to you and you are the owner, president, CEO of a company, and they're talking down to you. Go ahead and let your ego puff up and say, whoa. I am the president and CEO you're talking to this way. Oh, and by the way, I happen to write my name on your paycheck. You might want to back up. That's good ego. That's like a good check, right? But then there's the bad ego that like, look at me, I'm the cat's meow. Look at you guys can't survive without me. This could never exist. That's bad ego. That's arrogance. I don't even know what that is. That's just being an asshole. And it all happens, dude. It happens to me. Like if you don't think this is a constant battle every single week or month that I have to reevaluate myself and check myself, and hey, we all screw up because we're human. All you do is like, you screw up, man. If it was the ego day, you had a bad ego day, you own it. And you say, look, man, that was not my best, so I apologize, and you move on. It's the people that refuse to just embrace it, right? Hey, dude, I screwed that up. Most relationships nowadays are transactional, not actually emotional. So we just do something for somebody if we get this, or we will do this for you if I get this in return. We're not really learning about who they are, and we don't really care. That's why most friendships are fake. But if you have a relationship with your staff that's more on a different level, not a bad emotional level, but on a different level that you're not crossing a line, but you know who they are, and you have a little bit more in that emotional bank account than you do in bad, then you're going to screw up and be all right, dude. But if you don't, then you got to work on getting that with your staff. Good news is I've had most of my staff members been with me for 18 years. The difference is I have my good ones, not my bad ones.
Yeah.
And then I keep recruiting new talent.
Yeah, it's like an ongoing thing. Interesting.
The funny thing is, buddy, is I've fired one person in my lifetime and they still were a great employee. I'm not going to give any names. Great employee. They just happened to say the wrong thing at the wrong time in front of the team. Had they said it to me in private, I probably would have been fine with them. But they got mad at me and they said, let's just say I'm Italian and the F word is high. They told me to F off, basically. I'm like, I had no choice. Like, sorry, you got to go. Still a great employee. Just there's a time where you just got to say, yep, can't cross that line, right? That happened like 20 years ago. So we're good.
Today, what would be the consequences if you're like, man, that's a great employee. You know what? They just had a bad day. They told me that in front of the whole team. I'm going to let this slide. What would be the backlash in that if that happened?
There's a level of disrespect, period, right? So like I would never say to my wife those words ever because it's my wife. I would never say that to my kids because they're my kids. At some point, the human DNA has to go, you know what? There's certain things I can say and there's certain things I should never ever say. So I think when you cross that line to that form of disrespect, I don't know if you can recover from that. However, let's just say it was doctor, you're being a jerk today, or, you're being an ass today. They said something like that in front of your teammates. Now, sometimes I might joke it off, go, you know what, I probably was. I just kind of chill with it. I handle it really lightly. Then I would pull that person in the side and say, look, I get your intent. I blew it off so that nobody felt uncomfortable. This might have been a conversation maybe we could have had one-on-one if there was an issue. Let's not do that again in public. Let's not continue that behavior, because you're going to force my hand in something I don't want to do. So let's just agree now going forward, if there's an issue with me or you, we're going to have this immediately. We're going to talk about it one-on-one. It shouldn't fester up. Now, it might not have nothing to do with you. Sometimes people just lash out at you because something else happened at home. Let's not forget we're all human. And so sometimes you might say, hey, was that really directed towards me, or is there something you want to talk about? So there are times, I think, as a good leader, removing the ego aside, if you will, because really your ego would puff up if somebody challenges you, right? That's the first thing that's going to happen. I can't believe you said that to me. So if you can set your ego aside and say, okay, what was really the message behind here? Why did that happen? And look at yourself first before you attack or before you make that consequence. Then you can say, you know what? Maybe I was. Explain to me why you said that. So why was I that word that you mentioned? Please teach me, because I want to be better to serve you. And that's what I've noticed. We can get through a lot of things in the office. Especially I'm a male that works with predominantly females. Let's say it the way it is. Our brains we're not the same. Like, anybody can try to say we're the same. We don't think the same. You know what I mean? We're not as emotionally as entwined as most women are. We're not that emotionally intelligent, if you will. We're not always, oh, I get it. I might be because my wife demanded I be, no pun intended, like, dude, you better know this stuff. Like, but it's awesome. But you get what I'm saying. I think it's just a different approach of how you talk to them. Just talk to them like they're your best friend. Michael, you and I got to just him like, hey, bro, what was up with that, dude? Why did you do that? I get it. Like, what happened? You talk about it as like more of a better relationship. You might get a better answer. Now, if they still are mad at you and they don't want to listen to you and you try to be calm and they're jerks, well, see you later.
So I guess it would have been a completely different story if they kept their composure for that moment. And then in the office, like talking to you, they said it might have been different. But since it's in front of the team, I guess that's more of a reason, or?
Well, that was me 20 years ago. Me now, I can see through a lot more stuff, and my staff knows who I am as a person even more now, and how I try to mold and coach and mentor them. So I probably would not fire that same person today for saying that. Now, would they been a different consequence, maybe suspended for a week or something like that? Maybe. But I would have talked to it differently. When they said that, I'd be like, whoa, we're ending this conversation right now. Guys, go back to work. This is not going the way it needs to go. Thank God it doesn't happen a lot, Michael, but let's say it did. And then I would talk about it more on one-on-one, or I'd have my office manager in with me as we talk about it. And look, there would be definitely a write-up, but the person maybe gets suspended. Nah, maybe not even fired. I think it's all, you handle different things 20 years into your career than you did your first time. And sometimes you look at it from different lenses. I think so many times we look at, even when a patient's mad at us or upset and they're lashing out at us and they throw all their life on us, they're really not really mad at us. We're just there to have them to listen because nobody else has listened to them. And so you got to just take it for what it is. I think that's what cracks me up. They say dentistry is the #1 or #2 suicide job in the world. I don't understand that. I really don't. Besides, we get a lot of people's shit. We hear a lot of people complaining about the economics and stuff like that, and they try to throw all their problems on us. And sometimes dentists just try to live outside their means and they create their own pressures in here. But it's actually a really cool field, dude, and you can do a lot of cool things with people. So I think that the more you get emotionally intelligent yourself and know yourself, what your triggers are and how to respond to those differently, I think that's when truth growth happens in your practice. And that's when the people, human capital, as we've been talking about in this whole section, that's how they trust you and thrive with you too. They know they're safe even if they screw up. So I think that's a big part of it.
Real quick, how do you start doing that? Like, how do you start knowing yourself emotionally better? Where would you recommend
I get real about the facts, right? When you're doing a performance review, I do it on myself. So there's every single day, like can't see all my journals. I probably have 9 of them. Like I write in every single day. Here's my latest one. This is a small one. My daughter just got it for me, but I'm old school. I write stuff down. I had 10 of them, but I write down character flaws that I know I have. And I kind of pretend I'm like the character in my own story, because we are. And the cool thing about stories is that you never want to finish how you started, because the story would be boring, right? If you were great in the beginning and you're just great at the end, nobody cares about that person in the story. They care about the guy that was the meathead, whatever, and all of a sudden they turn the sweetest, nicest, and their life changed. We all watch the same movies and we all get lit up and we get chills when we see the transformation of a human in a movie. Why do we treat ourselves so differently? So all I do is I write down okay, this is who I am as a person today. Here's all my character flaws. I get real. I live by a code. When you say, what do you mean by code? Real, raw, relevant results. That's the code. Like I live by a code. I got to tell myself the truth. They say the truth shall set you free. The good news is you don't have to share it with anybody else, but you got to put on this journal. You either talk to yourself or you talk to God. Here's the truth about me. Here's all my flaws. Who is it that I want to become? Who is it that I need to become? And there is a power to doing this exercise. Here's all your bad traits. And on the right side of the paper, here's everything I want to become. So if you're angry, okay, or have a ton of anxiety, how do you calm down and have more patience? What trait would you have to introduce in your life to become that? And I just work on that every day. So you say, are you closer to or further away? If this is my goal, even if it's a financial goal, are the actions you're doing every single day getting you closer to or further away? If they're getting you further away, cut that action. If they're getting you closer to, continue. So you self-check every day. It takes 2 minutes to go, was I the best version of myself today? Yes or no? Most people will say, no. Okay, what could I have done to improve that? I could have done blah, blah, blah. What thing today would you have liked to change that you could have back? Okay, blah, blah, blah. Let's say you hurt an employee. The first thing I would do is address that and I would say, you know what? I got to talk to this employee or I got to make this right. Because now you're owning it. You're in full integrity, not only to yourself, but to that other person. And you're starting to develop this trust that they know that you're going to deliver whatever say you're going to deliver. The quickest way to lose trust of an employee is just not doing what you say you're going to do. Any human. You know those people, buddy. It doesn't matter who it is. You know those people, your friends that'll tell you, hey, I'm going to do this. Oh, yeah, sure you are. You don't even listen to them anymore. It's not even worth your time. But if you have that person that you know, this dude says he's going to do it, I guarantee that dude does it. Now when I say, hey, we're going to create a $2 million practice, a $3 million practice, a $4 million practice. And if we do the $4 million practice, I'm going to give you guys all this benefit of it, right? Whatever it is, they're going to be all in because they know those little things that I've always kept my word on. And now when it becomes a big thing, you better damn keep your word for that. And it starts by really a morning huddle. It could be something as basic, Michael, as a morning huddle. And you could say, I want to be a better leader. So I read a book on leadership. This is exactly what I did to take my practice doing $650,000 to $4 million. And this happened in 2016. I said, who is it that I need to become? I used to come to work in scrubs. I'm a little casual now because of COVID, but used to come into work in scrubs. And exactly what that word means, I hate that word scrubs. I feel like a scrub. So I said, what would a CEO of a company look like? If he was going to come in a multi-million-dollar company, how would he dress? I would wear a suit. I would wear a tie. Like I just had this envision in my own head. So I started doing that. I all of a sudden came into work looking the exact same way, wearing the blue suits, the red power ties, did all that stuff, started dressing differently. And then my morning huddles were totally different. I said I was learning about leadership, reading John Maxwell at the time. All I did was read and teach, read and teach. And I literally was reading and saying the same message. Then I found out that my staff, some of them really like biblical stuff. I was reading a purpose-driven life book. I read that book and all of a sudden I saw this employee, her eyes almost like twinkled as I'm reading this. I'm like, this is what she wants. So I literally would let the employee now dictate what message they want to learn more about every single morning huddle. So I'd have a 10-minute intro message and that employee got to pick and I would literally tailor the talk to that employee. And I did that for literally almost 2 years straight. And now it's like, I know how every one of my employees tick and I talk to their soul. That's different. We didn't just talk about money. We didn't just talk about numbers. That comes when your team, you invest in your human capital to a level in their soul. If you can get into their soul, it doesn't matter what you pay them. Because what people misdiagnose or misinform themselves with, there's not a money problem, there's a value problem. If I was gonna charge $900 for a crown and somebody else can charge $2,000, or Tiffany's, the jewelry store, has a blue box and they can have this bunk jewelry, which I don't even know if it's real. What is it? Stainless steel. It's not even freaking gold. I don't even think. My point is there's a perceived value in a Tiffany box that no matter what, people need that Tiffany box. Louis Vuitton purse, the same thing. Why do most people carrying Louis Vuitton purses are the ones that are so dang broke they should never buy the purse? There's a perceived value to that purse. Power, significance, status, I made it. They give a perceived value to that. Your employees the same way. You pay them hourly, but the value you give them in life is way greater than that hourly wage would be. They'll never leave you. They want to be a part of something bigger. It's not about the dollar to them. It's about what am I a part of that's a bigger value, a bigger purpose, a bigger mission. If you do that, they'll never leave. They'll be happy as hell. I'm not saying you don't pay them well. I'm just saying there's a value in everything. The patient needs to see a value. Why should I get a crown from Dr. Grassi? Because there's a value in that. Why should I pay this? Because there's a value. This is why you should. If they agree with what they're doing, they're going to do it. I'm going to say this really candor, and I'm sure some of your audience will be like, I can't believe you just said this, but I'm from Flint. How can a drug addict or a crackhead always find drugs, even if they don't have money? Because there's a value in finding those drugs. They're going to do whatever it takes to get that drug. People will do whatever they need to do if they find a value in what that is. It's never a money issue. If you're committed to something, you're going to make it happen. How did I go to dental school with a single mom raising 3 kids making $14,000 a year? I had to work 3 jobs and do it. You find a way. And that's why if you want something bad enough, I always tell people, they'll find a way. It's not the money.
Interesting. So then how is each team member coming in on point every single day, energized, and then they're like, we got it. I know exactly what to say. You guys have scripts?
First of all, you said something nobody's ever on all the time. So that's said, it's impossible. We are humans. Now, with that said, we did start out a little bit with scripts. There's ways to talk to patients. There's clinical psychology of how to talk to a patient, whether you mirror a patient, whether you do certain things. But let's just say it like a generic version of what you just said. Quick question. Hey, sir, are you bottom line or detailed? Literally that quick. Okay, I'm just bottom line. Okay, engineer, more detailed. Science major, probably more detailed. I'm just making hypotheticals. Type A is more detailed. What are your barriers? Okay, and what is it if I could solve a problem you want me to solve? That's it. And we tailor every conversation to that specific problem. And then we show them how they can do it. So I talked about earlier, there's a framework: problem, possibility, path, pitch. Problem, possibility, path, pitch. What is your problem that you're trying to solve? What is the possibilities to solving those problems? And I tailor everything to that patient. And so does my staff. So my staff will say, we have this way to transition power. So they meet them first and they do their thing. We're going to do hygiene. They come into hygiene. They transition to the power. They've already told me everything. I have little things about what the patient's interests are. And it's called the 4-minute rule. You get to know the patient. You get to know them emotionally. You get to know what their little hobbies are. And you talk that way. If you remove money out of the equation, money's never an issue. It's their job to tell us what it is that they want. It's our job as service industry to somehow make it work. So most dentists, they have it backwards. And this is the best thing I'll tell anybody. I can teach them how to do it. I can teach them how to set it up. It's not a big deal. The best advice I'll give you is learn from other people that have already done it. Who are the most successful people in dentistry? Orthodontics. Well, that's funny. They don't get all their money up front, do they? They get payment plans. They get interest-free payment plans. Interesting. If you can make it affordable, and this society we live in is based on payments, not by dollar amount. I'll give you another example. When you go get a car, most people don't look at the sticker price. The first thing they say is, what's my payment a month? It's got to make sense in their brain. You don't go, dude, I just spent $130,000 on a car. Now look, dude, if you're loaded and you're rich, you're like, dude, what is it? 130, pay cash, I don't want debt, whatever. Different story. But most people that are living paycheck to paycheck, means to means, they're only looking at, what is that going to cost me a month? That's it. If they can make it work in their brain, they're going to buy, right? So it's my job to structure it. How do I make this affordable? Why would I do that? Because if orthodontists are one of the richest people in the world and they do payment plans, what that tells me is most people actually want to pay me. But I'm in direct control of what payment plan I allow. I'm in direct control of what I do, right? You could tier it up any way. I don't just hang myself out to dry. I get a lot of my upfront costs covered, but now I'm working with them. So what I did is now that patient has a trust in me because I'm willing to work with them even financially. And who's more apt to stay with somebody? Somebody that says no because you don't have the money today, or somebody says, I'm willing to work with you, Michael, to make sure I give you the smile you want. Will they more apt to go after me? I don't do that with every patient. I only do it with the people that truly can't afford it. Because remember, I told you most of the time it's not a money issue, it's a value issue. But if you know they truly can't, and you tried every means possible, which I could teach you what to do, I can't do it on this podcast, what to do, you're going to be more successful. So that's how I handle those things. That's how I service my patients. That's how I get them to say yes. It does start with a script, and we have 5 questions we ask. Based on those answers to those 5 questions, my friend, then I tailor the talk to meet their needs.
What were the questions again?
What I can do so you can send it to your audience, I can have my team send this to you. Courtesy to your guests listening to the podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. We really appreciate it. So you tailor everything. Do you present the full price first and say like, hey, it's going to cost like $30,000 or it's going to cost $10,000 or $5,000? But
I do. I hate when people hold information from me. I'm my perfect avatar, right? Remember I said I built my practice based on my own mindset, not by somebody else's. My ideal patient is me. Somebody who can pay their bills, somebody that's going to come in on time, somebody that's going to do whatever needs to be done for their health and wellness, right? I am the ideal patient. So is my wife. So I don't tailor this conversation as I'm talking to the non-ideal patient. I'm talking to me. So like, this is easy. Who's the ideal patient? Me. Like when somebody says to me, hey, to build your house, it's $20,000. And then all of a sudden I go, all right, it's $20,000. Let's go. And then they come to me 2 months later. Oh, that was just the framing. Now it says, I want to punch somebody. You do too. Like, what do you mean? You told me it was $20,000, dude. I said yes to this. Now it's $50,000. And that's a shyster. Now you think you're not ethical. You're not honest. This is what you tell everybody. Hey, we can do this in chunks. We can do all this in any way. I work for you. I service you. But the total amount is this. If you did everything today, it's this. If I do an all-in-4 case, there's different tiers. There's a $10,000 case. There's a $15,000 case. There's a $25,000 case per arch. It just depends on what I'm doing. So I'll tell the people, go, how do you get $50,000 cases? I tell them the truth on the price. It's $25,000. I don't have any teeth. I know it's $25,000. Or I have 25 teeth. It's still $25,000. I don't want to have any hidden costs. Do I have to do bone grafting? Do I have to do expansion? Do I have to do any of this stuff? I don't know this. But you know what the patient doesn't want to know? Whether I have to or not either. So I just covered all up front. Here's what it is, right? If I do a core RCT core crown, or if I say that, I'll tell them if that's all they need, it's $1,500, $2,000, right? Whatever it is. And if I don't do that, Michael, and I say, you know what? I didn't have to do the root canal and I didn't have to do the core. So here's money back, or here is the discount and you're good. Nobody's going to be mad at me because I said it didn't cost that much. They're only going to be mad at you if it costs more than what you said. Because they made the decision based on the $2,000. Too many times we're like, we'll just utilize your insurance and we'll just do this. Okay, first of all, you don't treat insurance companies, you treat people. So I don't give two shits what the insurance covers. No pun intended. I hate using the word insurance. All it really is a coupon at the grocery store. Insurance is if I hit my deductible, I have unlimited coverage to the year ends. That's insurance. If I die and they give me health and life insurance to my wife, that's insurance. This thing where you have a $2,000 maximum and you got all these deductibles and you have to pay 20% of that bill, that's not an insurance. That's like you going to the grocery store and they hand you $5 off a loaf of bread. That's not insurance. That's a benefit. That's a coupon. We don't treat people. I always tell people, I don't treat insurance companies. I treat you. So this is what your cost is. Now, here's your discount if you use your insurance, but it's still this. And you'd be shocked at just having that matter-of-fact conversation, how many people say yes. They want you to be the leader of their health and wellness. If that wasn't the case when they came to you, they already trust you're the master of what you do. They don't really care about your credential on the wall. Nobody's ever asked me, you know, what was your GPA in dental school? Nobody cares. They want to know your customer service. They want to know, do you actually care? Who are you in service to? And how can you solve their problem? That's it. And how nice your staff was. And how great your office looked. You see a Google review. Do you ever hear the dentist was amazing? No, you like, the staff was friendly. The space looked beautiful. The coffee was awesome. Like, they don't even talk about your skill set. They don't even care.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, man. So then, does this ever happen, Bobby, where we tend to lose the conversation with the patient, or we lose our conversation when someone who comes in isn't our ideal patient, but they came in, they're sitting down, and we try to sometimes make it fit the conversation to them, but then in the middle of it, you're starting to realize this is not my ideal patient, kind of a thing. Does that ever happen?
Yeah, it actually does, and I fire patients all the time. And I know people like, I can't believe you just said that. And that's not me being a jerk. It's really not. It's like when somebody tries to dictate and tell me how I'm going to practice dentistry or dictate what I'm doing based on the culture I built. I protect my culture. I protect everything. Because remember, if you hang around toxicity, you're going to become toxic. The reality is this. A ripe fruit doesn't make a rotten fruit ripe, but a rotten fruit makes a ripe fruit rotten. It doesn't go both ways. So if you allow a certain behavior or a mindset or a patient in your practice that's non-compliant, I mean, it sounds like this is a more of a non-compliant patient. You know, I'm not taking x-rays. I'm not going to do this. I don't want a detailed cleaning. I just want a basic prophy. Trying to dictate my care for them and I'm overall responsible for their care. Yeah, no, we're good. And I'll tell them, look, here's the option. You either accept these parameters or it's okay for me to dismiss you and it's okay for me to free you up on your future to go find a dentist that will do exactly what you want. I'm just not that guy. I'm not going to compromise my license or my philosophy in medicine based on what you want. Now, if you say you want a partial versus an implant, that's a different conversation. If you want to say, I just can't afford it right now and what can you do for me down the road, that's a different conversation. So I always work with those people, right? I'm talking about the ones that you made it sound like, well, they just weren't your ideal patient, really aren't going to do anything you say, really are going to kind of be a pain in the neck. You know, when they call, they complain all the time. I just dismiss them, man. I just cut the bottom 10% all the time.
So that's like a principle you keep for everything.
Only the people that won't do that have a scarcity mindset. They believe that they can't get another patient. I've said this exact words. And I know it sounds really crazy because I'm on a podcast and people sound like I'm the most arrogant guy in the world sometimes. I'm really not. I'm actually a very kind guy. But when I say this, I'm just very confident in what it is, who I want to serve. And I'll say, look you obviously know more than I know because you're telling me everything, what I'm telling you is wrong. So that's cool. You can treat yourself and we can just move on because I don't want to battle with you every day. This is my philosophy. This is what I believe. It's a relationship. Remember, it's just a relationship. Are you going to hang around with a friend that is pulling all the energy from you and sucking you dry? Absolutely not. You'll be like, dude, we're good. I don't want to hang out with you. We're good. We treat patients as if all of a sudden they're the holy grail and how dare I dismiss somebody who's sucking the life out of me. That's funny. They can fire me on a dime. A patient can come in here and say, I do one thing wrong. They just go to another practice. Okay, cool. So I can do the same thing. I refuse to allow toxicity in my life. I'm not going to do it because I end up taking it out on the patients that are good patients. I take it out on my staff. I'm not now in servitude. I'm now pissed off and angry to a point where somebody got my anxiety and blood pressure up through the roof. And I don't need to worry about them coming in because guess what? There is a patient out there that will respect what I'm doing. There is an abundance load of patients out there. If there wasn't, how could there be 100 dentists in my town alone? You're going to find a new patient and find the ones that you like serving. Everybody wins.
That's really good. That's really good. So you let them go. Has this ever come across, Bobby, where somebody's like, man, I want to let them go, but like I did this before, then I got a bad review, then their husband left me another review, and it just started sinking, and I don't want to do that again. Go through that whole process again of getting slandered on the internet.
You're always going to get slandered. It doesn't matter who you are. I mean, I have like a 4.7 rating out of like whatever, I don't know, 500, 600, 700 reviews. And half of the people that are giving the 1-star reviews, what I would say to them, probably owed you money. We just can't tell the truth online or tell you what they really were doing. Let's not focus on that review. Let's focus on your great patients that can give you a 5-star review. There's no law that says you can't answer that real 1-star review. There's no law to it. I just don't waste my energy on it. I'm like, nah, whatever. If you get a 1-star review, I think it's cool to call the patient out because there's always the keyboard courage. I actually call the patient back and I actually say myself, not my staff, I say, look, I see I got a 1-star review. I respect your opinion. Tell me what I could have done differently or what was it that really upset you? You literally learn from it. Or if they're just totally out the deep end, you can know that, oh, you know what? I at least hit it head on. Too many people are afraid, but you're going to have way more 5-star reviews than you do 1-star reviews. You're never going to have a patient who always loves you. It's not going to happen. You're going to have an attrition rate of about 10% every year anyway. You might not even have done anything wrong. It could be your staff member. It could be they just moved out of town. Like, why do we so caught up on the 1-star review? What about the 3,000 patients that have been coming to you for 10 years and they've always been happy with you? Ask them for a review. Because I promise you, if you get 3,000 reviews, there's only one bad, people online can see through that garbage and go, dude, there's no way this guy's bad. Right? I mean, the Ritz-Carlton, for God's sakes, doesn't always get a 5-star review. And we know it's a nice hotel. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, come on. There's bots out there, dude. There's haters. There's competitors. We fail to realize there are other people trying to cut our legs off when you're successful. Especially the bigger you get, the more they're going to attack. You better have thick skin.
I never thought about it that way, where it's like, have a little bit of faith in the common sense of the people who are looking at the review, right? They can read through that. They can tell like, oh, they go on their profile on Yelp and they're like, oh, they've left everybody, a restaurant, a taco stand or whatever, 1-star reviews. They're probably going to leave you a 1-star review kind of a thing, right? So they're not always going to depend on that 1-star review person to dictate their dentist, right?
And like I said, even if you felt better, just say, look, I'm sorry about your behavior. If you paid your bill on time, you wouldn't. No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. But most of the time, let's be honest, for some odd reason, they didn't get the service they wanted or they owed you money. I mean, that's really the most time you get a 1-star reviews. 9 times out of 10 in my practice, they owed us money and we finally went after it after about 6 months. Then I'm the worst guy in the world, right? Because I actually wanted the money that was paid for me.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Interesting. So then one of the final questions I wanted to ask you is, throughout the time, I guess you decided to open up your practice till today, what's been some of the biggest struggles or fails or pitfalls you've encountered?
Biggest struggle I had was probably really knowing who I am and who I want to serve. That's the hardest part because, you know, when you get out of dental school, you're so worried about paying the debt off. You're so just, man, am I good enough? And you go through this lack of confidence and you all of a sudden you go from, you got instructors looking at your props and you got people doing things to now this is all on me. If I can't get a tooth out, they're all looking at me like I'm already the master. So the first struggle I had was how did I increase my speed and efficiency, knowing in the back of my mind where I wanted to go. Getting through the anxiety, getting through the uncomfortableness of standing on your own or opening up your own practice, because let's be honest, none of us have money. So now you're going to go, hey, I'm going to go take a $2.4 million loan when I'm broke. We don't even know what 100,000 looks like right now. Let's be honest. Like, dude, we paid about 100,000 in debt per year, but none of us that are dentists, unless we've been spoon fed by your parents, but I don't know many people, even parents, that are handing you $100,000, $200,000 a year. Let's just say it the way it is, right? We don't even know what it's like to even earn money on dentistry to begin with. We don't even know what a good contract is. So it's understanding, how do I become really good at the craft? How do I get a confidence? How do I keep my vision going forward at the same time developing my skill sets? Getting the confidence was one of my biggest pitfalls, but developing speed, just tackling things that you know might be challenging. I think too many times I see young dentists, I only did one root canal in school, so I won't do it. Do it anyway. I won't do extractions because I won't do it. Do it anyway. And the only way you're going to get good at something is do it. But dental school has brainwashed us that we refer everything out. This is like a manipulation tactic of every specialist. And I know a specialist listening to this is going to be irritated at me. I really don't care, because I'll put my work against any one of them and I'm fine. If I'm a general dentist who has to restore it anyway, and I know everything about orthodontics, and I know a lot about implant dentistry, and I know a lot of information, and I can practically do it, as long as I hold myself to the same standards as a specialist, I'm good. That's the beautiful part about being a general dentist. I call us the super GPs. There's super GPs out there, general practitioners, that are dominating the space in dentistry, and they're not even all special surgeons. Dr. Todd Engel is one of the greatest implant guys you ever see. He's a general dentist. I mean, he's phenomenal. It's about creating the skill set. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to just do it. Like, I have associates that are so afraid to do a root canal, and I'll tell you, do it anyway. Get yourself in a practice or an environment that will allow you to grow. Don't just be their minions. Don't be the guy that they're only going to let you do the cavity preps. They're only going to let you do the fillings. That's not teaching you anything. It's no different than if I hired you as an associate and I said, I want you to become better than me. Every one of my associates, if they would have sat down with me, all of them don't, and they said, I want you to teach me everything about implant dentistry. Dude, I'll do your surgical guides. I'll teach you. Be in an environment where people are going to let you thrive and become the best you. What happens, though, is when they find a good associate, most doctors don't want to do that. Why do you think that is? Because they're too afraid of them leaving and starting their own practice. But at the end of the day, if I'm a service to everybody that works for me and they do that, so be it. I made them better, and in the back of the mind, the guy's going to make me better. Or you got to say, hey, thank you, Dr. Grassi. But getting confidence up, don't be afraid to take risks. Push yourself every single day to get better, not only in this field, but in talking to your employees, trying to figure out what makes them tick. And once I did all that and I started really focusing my attention on my patients and my employees, remember, I graduated dental school 03. I told you my practice blew up in 16. So that means I had 13 years of garbage that I was thinking I was good at, right? Yeah. 13 years of making mistakes over and over and over. 13 years of trying to become this guy you see today. It wasn't until I decided to make the switch of the character trait, and this is where I want to go, this is where I'm going to go, this is who I'm in service to, that's when my practice really changed. I think if you follow that format and you can do it early, you will dominate this space.
I like that, man. Bobby, thank you so much for being with us. It's been a pleasure. But before we say goodbye, can you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Instagram, I'm at Bobby Grassi DDS. You can go to thedentistco.com. That's where you have all my coaching programs and stuff like that. You can also email me at drbobby@thedentistco.com. Dude, you can follow the Relentless Committed podcast. I'm on everywhere, dude. You'll find me. So anyway, check me out, thedentistco.com, or email me at drbobby@thedentistco.com, and I'd love to connect.
Nice. So that's going to be in the show notes below. And Bobby, thank you so much for being with us. It's been a pleasure, and we'll hear from you soon.
Thanks, Michael.